Who are you?
You can call me Andy. I lead a group of soldiers. Fighters, like you. With an extremely rare skill set.
What do you mean?
Mother? Let's just say we're very hard to kill. You've got questions, kid. You want answers? I have the new one.
And?
I think she has potential. See, you're already healing faster. You're gonna do great.
So you good guys or bad guys?
Depends on the century.
So we really never die.
Just because we keep living doesn't mean we stop hurting.
Throughout history, we've protected this world, fighting in the shadows. But it's nearly impossible to disappear in the world we live in today. Would you like me to take one for you?
Oh, thank you so much.
Here you go.
Thank you.
These are extraordinary individuals. They are extremely resistant to capture.
They're going to lock us up and weaponize us. But they've never faced an army like ours.
An army of 5. Shit, let's start a band.
If we can unlock their genetic code, the entire world will be begging us for the key.
You shouldn't have done that.
We don't have all the answers. But we do have purpose.
I strongly recommend that we leave right now.
Let's move!
Wait for the signal.
How the hell can you even tell? Oh.
I'm gonna keep up on all that.
I'm going to watch 30 movies, a movie each day in June. Day 25 of year 8 of movie month, and the podcast will start soon. He's going to watch 30 movies, some good films and some lowbrow. Year 8 of fans, not experts, movie month, and the podcast starts right now. Year 8 of movie month, that much you already know. Year 8 of movie month, and now it's time for the show.
Here we are, born to be kings. We're the princes of the universe. Here we belong, fighting to survive in a war with the darkest power.
Today, I watched a movie that snuck up on me. And by that, I mean I had no plans to watch this movie. I was like, it wasn't on my list. I don't think it was on my Netflix queue. And I wanted something, I just wanted something that was kind of light. Not that The Raid was some deep, heavy movie, but I wanted a movie that I didn't have to read the subtitles. There's a movie on my list that I'm still going to get to, I think, that is subtitled, and I was like, I don't want to do two in a row. So let me look for something light and fluffy that could be fun. And I went to Netflix, and I thought, wait a second. What's the name of that movie? That movie that just came out recently with Charlize Theron, the Netflix original film, The Old Guard. And I was like, is it Old Dogs? No, that's a whole different movie. Old Guard, yes, let me look it up. Apparently it came out a year ago, back in July, so it's a year old already. But, you know, Netflix movies, once they're there, I don't think Netflix original ever gets rid of originals. So I said, this is it. This is the movie. It's like, they're like immortals? Are they vampires? Or what's going on here? I don't know anything about this, but it looks like it could be a fun action movie to watch with some sort of supernatural twist to it. So boom, let's get into it. And I watched it, and I just finished it. And I have to say, it was a fun movie. It was enjoyable. It was a little like, you know, the villain, quote unquote, was a little, I don't know if it's predictable or just like really like, let's just tell the story. There is a group of people who are immortals. Why are they immortals? That's never really answered. How are they immortals? I like to say immortals like that. How are they immortals? That's never really answered. And I think that's part of the mystery, where it's just like, maybe the whole thing is, look, spoiler alert if you haven't watched this movie. I'm going to talk about all over the place. If I talk about the ending at the beginning, who cares? Maybe oh my God, I'm yawning. It's another late night. It's 10 o'clock at night. Maybe the reason they're there is to do good. That's basically what maybe they come to, that they find out they've been doing lots of good over the years, and maybe that's why they're alive. So we come across these people, and the first thing we see is them dead. Then we see this group of four, like, hey, haven't seen you in a while. How you doing, boss? Good. We have a job, and it's to extract these kidnapped schoolgirls in Sudan. But when they get there, it's an ambush. Bam, 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 bam. They're all shot to death, and then they get up after they die. Then all of a sudden, cough, cough. They wake. They start healing. They get up. The guys who shot them are like, what? And then bang, they kill them completely. And they're like, where are the girls? There were no girls. This was a setup. And they look up on the and they see a camera, and there's someone been watching them. They chop the camera. They realize someone knows their secret now, knows who they are. Now, who is in this movie? The most well-known name is Charlize Theron. I think the second most well-known name is Chiwetel Ejiofor. I believe I'm saying that. I'm sure I'm butchering it, but he's been in a ton of stuff. He's a British actor. He's got a beautiful British accent. I remember him first. The first time I saw him was in Serenity, which is the Firefly movie. So he might be the second biggest name, or it's the villain who's goddamn Dudley Dursley, Harry Potter's cousin. From those terrible Dursleys. He's grown up. He's thinned out. He's very British looking. And he plays a pharmaceutical guy who hired Chiwetel's character. He's from Boston, and his name's Copley, very Boston. So, okay, I can go by character names for them. Merrick, I don't want to call him Dudley Dursley, owns a pharmaceutical company. And they've heard Copley has been looking for these people for years, apparently. He's been studying these people because we find out his wife died of cancer. He hires them, and he talks about his wife dying of cancer. But it's a kind of a throwaway line. But I realize this guy's in this. He's not just going to be in this for a second. There's got to be a reason he's there. He's too good of an actor to be just here for 5 minutes. So they he's hired by the pharmaceutical guy because the pharmaceutical guy is like always looking for the next thing to extend life. And he hears about these people who are immortals, and now he wants to capture them and bring them in to study them and to, basically synthesize what they are and give it to the world so everyone can live long, long lives. So he's hired Chiwetel, who's hired these soldiers to try to find them. Meanwhile, okay, that's kind of part of the story. Meanwhile, there's a soldier in Afghanistan who goes to kill an Afghan, bad guy, and shoots him. And while he's dying, he takes a knife out and slits her throat. She dies, and they're like, no. And then, boom, all of a sudden she wakes up 2 days later or whatever inside a medic tent, and she's feeling for her neck, and her friends come like, you're okay. And they take the thing off, and there's no scar. And his friend's like, I saw her bleed. I was holding her neck together with my hands. And she wakes up startled because she's having a dream. All the other 4 immortals, there's Charlize Theron and 3 guys that I don't know. But I have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed them all. I thought they were all good. There was one guy who I thought was going to be the guy who turns on them, and then later on in the movie, I said, it's refreshing that all these guys work together for so long and none of them turn on each other. And then, of course, the guy who I thought was going to turn ends up being the guy who does turn. So they're on this train, like just kind of being like hobos, and they wake up and like oh. And they all had a shared dream about this woman. That's kind of how it works. When a new one is created, they share a dream about them. But it's been hundreds of years since they've had a new one. Why now? Why here? Why now? And I kind of predicted why it was here. Why a little later. And I don't know what that means, but how the movie ends. But I don't know. So. Because these are the 4 there, but there have been others. And why have there been others? Because they can die. Like, you're immortal, you don't die. I shouldn't say you're immortal. You don't die. And then someday, your gift is just gone. And they couldn't explain it why. Then there was another woman who was like Charlize number 2. It was like her lover, her best friend, her everything. They went through like the different... things. They went through they thought they were witches at one point, burned her at the stake. Then they finally took one of the women, threw her in an iron coffin, and tossed her into the ocean. So for 500 years, she would just be in the ocean, living and dying. That's what they said, 500 years. Charlize Theron's character seemingly has been alive for thousands of years. Like, she goes back, her name was it like Roman, or like her full name was like a Greek kind of, I don't know, it felt like an ancient name, let's put it that way. She's lived for thousands of years. What I liked are the little touches where they know a ton of languages. Why wouldn't they? They fight with swords sometimes, like they have guns and stuff, but they also have like, Charlize has this old axe, and a couple of the guys have swords because they kind of came from that sword world. Like I like that. They split up. Charlize, they go, you need to go find Copley, and Charlize is like, I'm going to go find this new person. And there's kind of a little they meet. The military is about to take her for testing, but Charlene steps in, beats up those guys, and kidnaps this woman who's like, who are you? What are you doing? You're one of us now. And then she's like, no, I'm going to run away. And Charlie shoots her in the head. She heals, and Charlie's like, see, told you, you're one of us now. She's like, you shot me. She goes, yeah, sorry. I had you. You were running. So they bring her into the loop, and they're explaining who they are and how they've met. Two of the guys are like a couple. I would say lovers, but they've been together for hundreds of years. Like at one point, these jerk security guys are like, what is he, your boyfriend? And he's like, my boyfriend? That's so infantile. And he gives this like very romantic speech. And then the two guys kiss, and then the guards go to attack them. And later they open up the van and they killed all the guards. I thought that was really cool. I enjoyed that. That was a fun little touch. So they finally catch two of the guys. So they bombed this. They found them in this old church. They catch two of the guys. Meanwhile, the third guy, Booker, this guy who I said is going to turn and does turn, he was exploded by a grenade, but he got put back together. He and Charlize, and then the new girl, Niall, they're like, we gotta go catch them. We gotta go break them out. But the girl Niall's like, I'm young. I want to go back to my family. I still have time. I'm out. And Charlize's like, fine, here, take this gun. You can go. So she goes to leave. She looks at the gun. The gun's unloaded. But, that other guy gave Charlize the gun. So now we know that guy's trying to screw Charlize Theron's character. They go to find this guy, Copley, so they can find where their friends are. And Booker shoots Charlize. And it's like, why? And he goes, because if I want them to know, if they know how to create this, maybe they know how to end it. Because this guy just wants to die. He's had lives. He died fighting for Napoleon. He saw his children die. He saw his child hate him because he was dying while this guy stayed young, and they thought he was, keeping this quote unquote secret to immortality himself. He's depressed. You see him drinking a lot during the movie. He just wants to die, and he's apologizing. But what we noticed was earlier in the movie, Charlize is at a pharmacy because one of her cuts isn't healing. And she's like, uh-oh, I think the time has come. So my thinking was the new girl got her powers because the time, it's like the cycle. Like one of them was about to lose powers, so it's time for another one to get powers. And I thought maybe there can only be, 4 or whatever, 5. But that's not necessarily the case. I don't know. So, Charlize and this guy and the other two guys are already at the lab. Now these two are brought into the lab. Niall goes back and goes to break them out. First she goes to the Copley guy, and he's like, who are you? She shoots herself in the foot and heals, and he's like, you're another one of them. She's like, yeah, I need to get them out of here. And he shows her, he goes, look at all this stuff they've done good, and I thought I was trying to do good. My wife, she couldn't talk, she couldn't breathe. I thought I was trying to do something good. And the woman's like, at whose cost? It wasn't your gift to give. So they go to break out the 4 of them together. Actually, he gets her in, and then she does all the shooting and killing because she can get shot and die and come back. And it's not like you have to die to heal. It's just if you die, you will heal. But if you're shot, you'll heal too, as long as you stay alive. But Charlize, you can see, was bleeding. So I think her days are numbered. And she says to the woman later, I think my abilities left just as you came to show me what it was like to be young and have this power. I don't know if that means her abilities coming back. I didn't know that. I didn't quite understand that explanation. I thought it was just they were going to say it's the circle of life, the cycle. That's what I thought it was. But they didn't say that. So the only thing that the thing about the villain, I guess you could say, the Dudley Dursley guy, Merrick. Was his name Merrick? Isn't there a real Merrick Pharmaceutical? Something like that. So he runs this big pharmaceutical about, that just is about having the cutting edge, having the premium rights to something, and making lots of money. It was a little too, this dude is this nerdy, billionaire tech CEO who will just, will stop at nothing to kill these people, to figure out the thing. He goes, all the footage is nice, but I need to find it for myself. And he stabs one of the guys, and then he heals. He's like, this is crazy, precisely. And he's like, well, they can't leave now. We have to have the rights to these things. So he just wants to lock them up forever. He's like, when I created this cancer drug that saved millions of lives. I also killed 11 million mice in the process. They didn't ask for permission, and I'm not asking for your permission either. I was like, it's a little too, this guy is just completely evil. It was just right out of the thing. He's, giving a talk, and he's like, I'm very tech savvy. And then all of a sudden, now I'm evil. I'm a very evil person. And I was like, it was a little is this guy a little too evil? I don't know. But you had to have somebody bad, I suppose. And maybe if it was a criminal who was trying to do some kind of criminal thing, it would have been a little more believable instead of a a billionaire pharmaceutical, CEO who's like also like doesn't care about humans or whatever these emotionals are. But we do get like a little payoff with something. So she breaks in, they start breaking them out and, killing all the guards and everything. And then some like this big glass is broken up because part of their, breaking out was smashing through this glass to get through all these guards. So it's a big glass open area. And I said, and they're like, someone's getting away. And they run after him in the elevator. Excuse me. You can hear my knees cracking, huh? Are you ready? Come on. It never works when oh, there's one. So I was like, you guys are immortal. What would be easier than the elevator is just taking the window. Well, I say that because then that Merrick guy, he has Charlize Theron's axe that he got from the Nile girl who brought it in. She was using it. He has it now. And he goes to fight them. Obviously, Charlize takes it right from him. No problem. They fight. Boom, boom, boom. He tries to shoot them, but the new girl gets in the way, blocks the bullets. And then Charlize Theron takes the axe, sticks it right in this guy's neck. And he's like, oh, but he still had a gun. And then the new girl charges him. And this was kind of a cool shot. I mean, it's all digital, but it still looked cool. Where she charges him and like basically spears him, for lack of I'm using a wrestling term, spears him, goes for a tackle and out the window, and we just follow them all the way down on top of a car. It's like smash, and I was like, that's what I wanted the whole time. I'm like, somebody's got to go out the window. Why have the window there? So out the window they go. Then the guys come down and like, oh, I guess the window was faster than the elevator. And she is like twisted and broken. And then all of a sudden she coughs awake and then her bones start cracking. And that was like, oh, just anytime I think of my broken arm, I just like earlier her arm broke and the bone went back in. It was like, ugh, awesome, but gross. And so now they're away from all these guys, right? They drive away from the bad guys. The guy who turned on them, he's like, I don't deserve this. You should leave me here. They go, no, you know what? We've been doing a shitty job of living, and you need to come with us. We'll deal with this later, but right now you're coming with us. So they all get away. Then we see them at a little bar, a pub somewhere, and they're all two of the guys, Charlize and the new girl. This is like the new foursome. They're kind of talking. The Booker guy's waiting outside. She goes out to see them, and she says, that Copley guy, he's going to make it look like I died in Afghanistan, so my family can at least have closure. It'll hurt for a while, but they'll be able to get over it. Otherwise, they would have no idea where she was or what she was doing. So, and he's like, what are they doing? They're still deciding what to do. So they come out later, and Charlize comes out and goes, listen, here's the deal. There can't be no punishment. Obviously, it's just not the way it is. So, right here, on this day, 100 years from now, they'll come for you. But until then, you're on your own. So they're leaving this guy on his own for 100 years. Now, if you're 1,000 years old, 100 years it's still a pretty long time. You still have to live those goddamn years. But, you could get there and get back. And he's like, well, I won't see you because they don't think she can heal anymore. She's like, hey, you gotta have faith. You never know. They hug, and he didn't say sorry, I don't think. And then the four of them all leave. They go to Copley, and they're like, he shows them all the stuff that he's been collecting over the last couple hundred years that he could find of the stuff they've done, where they've saved people who have gone on to great things. They've saved people who have cured things. They've saved them, not knowing that they would eventually do these things. But if it wasn't for them at that place at that time, the world we know would be drastically different. So they've had an effect on history all the years, and that's where they're like, maybe this is what we do. this is why we're here. Maybe this is why we're doing this, to do this good. So they're like, all right, Copley, here's the deal. You know, it's hard today to walk around without leaving a footprint with all the digital stuff in the world and everyone, having a phone in their pocket. If someone catches wind of us, if someone has some photo of us, because earlier in the movie, a woman took a selfie and she saw that she was in it. She saw she might have been in it. So she's like, hey, can I want me to take a picture of all of you? And then she erases the selfie with her in it. So, about leaving a digital footprint. Which reminded me, wasn't that in Tenet where if you left something digital, then it'll find it in the future? I forget. I've been watching so many time travel movies this year. This wasn't time travel, but it reminded me of just something like that. So she said, if there's any digital, anything out there that will leave a digital footprint, you need to erase it. And you need to find us real jobs to do that we can do good. And one of the guys looked at him and said, she's not asking. And he's like, I would be honored. He's like, all right, let's get to work. Boom. Movie ends. But then it says 6 months later, and we see Booker. And he has this little apartment, and he's kind of drunk on a skunk, and he breaks some glass. He breaks a bottle on the ground, goes into his apartment's already open, and he's like, he pulls a gun out, and you see this glass there, and this hand goes up, and she goes, Booker, it's nice to finally meet you. And she goes to drink the glass, and you go up, and it's the woman, the Asian woman that Charlize Theron has loved all these years and was like her best friend, her everything, maybe her lover, and the one that was locked away in the iron casket for hundreds of years under the ocean. They tried to find her, they never could, and now she's back, and that's how the movie ends. So it's totally setting up for a possible sequel, which I saw Charlize said she had some interest in it. All the guys had interest in it, I suppose. All the actors had interest in it. And as of January of this year, Netflix has greenlit a sequel. So I'm not going to lie, I kind of hope we get one. And then I looked it up, and it's Greg Rucka who wrote this. And I said, I know that name, and he's a comic book writer, and this is based on his comic book. And he did write a comic book sequel. I almost want to go back and read the comic now. I wasn't sure if this was a comic. It definitely has that feel. But I should have known, too, when I saw the name. I said, why do I know that name? So this was a fun movie. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed their interplay. I enjoyed how they've kind of, they're just subtle ways of showing how old they are and how they're comfortable and how they're so good at combat because they've been just perfecting it over the years, but how they still use swords and they're good with guns. All that crap was good. The weakest thing I think was just the over the topness of the not that he was overacting, but just the complete and utter cruelty of the villain. I know he's the villain, but it felt like, really, would this guy be this bold and be like, well, I need to perfect my data to make everything, make sure I can make people live longer. So obviously we got to get these guys. I need all four of them. I don't know why he needed all four of them. And, he didn't mind torturing them. He didn't mind stabbing them. I don't know. It felt like the guy in the raid the night before, they show him executing 4 people. And I was like, this guy looks like a crazy psychopathic, criminal, where this other guy, I'm looking at Dudley Dursley from freaking Harry Potter. So maybe that was the quote-unquote weakest part. But I like how they have this Copley guy now working with them. I like that all of them survived. And I like that they're going to bring this twist into this other woman. Now, maybe she's going to be a villain saying, why did you leave me behind? Maybe it'll be bad immortals against good immortals. I don't know. But I'll definitely watch the sequel someday. So all in all, I would have to say that I am happy that I watched this movie today. It's kind of the perfect movie that I wanted to watch today. I still have some what I would call more films, more highbrow movies on the horizon. But I only have 5 movies left. Did the math in my head. I actually didn't do it in my head. I'm counting on my fingers. 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. That's right, 5 movies left, and that's the crazy part. Now, one thing that isn't going to happen that I really, really wanted to do, I really wanted to get to F9 in the theaters, see Fast and Furious 9 in the theaters, but that isn't in the cards this year. You know, I'm not even sure about going back to a movie theater myself yet. And then my wife is like, "No, I don't want you going. There's too many germs, but I don't want you going." You know, I don't know. I'm fully vaxxed. I'd probably double mask. I'd probably triple mask. I'd probably put condoms on my hands. I'm sure it'd be fine. But at the same time, knowing me, knowing the germphobe I've kind of become this past year, I'd probably be too antsy to enjoy myself. I feel like I would be. I was hoping they'd have like a 9 a.m. showing like some of these movies do, but they didn't have that. They're not doing that yet. So F9 might be a 2022 joint for me. But that's not what this is about. This is about the old guard today. And I would have to say, overall, a thumbs up. You know, as far as like, I know what, you know, the tropey stuff, and I know the villain stuff. It's, you know, I understand all that stuff, and yet, did I enjoy it? Yes, I did. So that's all that matters. And we're done. We did it. 25 days in the books. It's now 10:30 p.m. I need to get this up, kids. Hopefully I'll watch tomorrow's movie a little earlier. But until then, my friends, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Geek Mentality. You can find me on Letterboxd. Folks, if you're not using Letterboxd to track what movies you watch, then you're not like this data-driven nerd like myself. I use TV Time for TV movies, for TV Time for TV shows I watch. Literally, I watch this, and you can do commenting on TV shows, and it tells you when new episodes are out if you're not looking at your DVR. And I use Letterboxd to list all the movies that I do for Movie Month. Get on there, my friends. I'm Geek Mentality on there as well. So Geek Mentality on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, obviously the name of this podcast. And on the website, it's fans.experts.com. The Facebook page is fans.experts. That's it. Happy Friday. I'll see you tomorrow. And until then, here is my theme song.
This is my podcast. I made it. Geek Mentality's what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe. 'Cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time, and I'm kinda handsome. My mom says, please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode.
Fans not experts.